Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're breaking down a truly powerful framework from Bantu Chowke's book, A Man's Worth. We're going to look at exactly how to break out of survival mode and build a real, meaningful legacy. If you've ever felt a heavy pressure to just conform, or maybe you've had that creeping fear that your life might just become another statistic, well, you are in exactly the right place. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Think about a sunrise stretching over the African savanna. It perfectly represents what Chauke calls the Golden Age. Right now, across Africa, there is this massive, totally untapped potential. We're talking unprecedented connectivity, booming youth populations, newly opening markets, the whole shebang. Yet, we're faced with a massive paradox. In the dead center of this golden age, there's a crisis of passive conformity. Millions of people are just sitting back, waiting for things to happen, instead of grabbing the reins themselves.
Listen to this profound realization from the author. To live the life we have always imagined, first we must imagine the life we want. It plunges us directly into the core truth of this entire explainer. You are the architect of your own circumstances. Purpose isn't just something that magically happens to you one day. It's a deliberate, vivid image you have to actively construct in your own mind first.
But, what happens if we don't construct that image? Let's talk about the number 54. It represents a pretty grim reality. If you take 100 ambitious, bright-eyed 25-year-old men today, statistics actually show that 40 years later, 54 of them will be financially broken. Over half. Why? Because the vast majority spend their entire lives living reactively instead of deliberately. They survive, sure, but they definitely don't succeed.
The data literally proves the trap of conformity mathematically. Across many African nations, entrepreneurial ambition is incredibly high. It usually hovers right around 35%. People really want to build. But when you look at actual established business ownership, it drops to just 11.5%. There is a massive gap between wanting a better life and taking the deliberate action to actually build it. And that gap, it's filled with conformity, basically doing what everyone else does and waiting for permission.
So the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the stark difference between true action and mere reaction. Action is waking up at 2 a.m. to plan your finances because you have a crystal clear vision for your family's future. Reaction, on the other hand, is waiting for the bill to arrive in the mail before you panic and try to budget. Waiting for external triggers, like a crisis, a complaining boss, or an empty bank account, keeps millions locked in survival mode. Action is moving before the world forces you to move.
Section 1. The framework. The three-legged stool. To make that shift from reaction to deliberate action, we need a solid structure. Let's explore Chuk's core framework, which is designed to anchor a man when life kicks hard.
Think of purpose like a three-legged stool. Leg 1 is your personal spark. This is your unique identity, those talents that literally get you out of bed in the morning. Leg 2 is your relational lifeline. We're talking about your mentors, your friends, that community that lifts you up when you inevitably stumble. And leg 3? That's the transcendent beyond. It's a cause or a legacy that is much, much larger than yourself. When you balance your personal identity, your community network, and your larger legacy, you become practically unbreakable. It propels you forward.
And this brilliantly illustrates how we actually shift our reality. Chauke's core equation is simple. Circumstance equals action divided by time. Notice what comes first: action. We don't just sit around and wait for time to deliver good circumstances to us. We create our own circumstances through deliberate, unprompted action. Time just bears witness to the results.
Moving on to Section 2, Cultivating Your Mind, the Farmer and the Seed. So where does all this action actually begin? It begins right in your mind, anchored by one universal law. We become what we think about all day long.
Let's use a perfect analogy for this: the farmer and the seed. Your mind is basically like incredibly fertile African soil. It doesn't judge. It doesn't care what you plant. It will just return whatever you give it. If you plant the golden maize of purpose, a clear, worthwhile goal, it will yield a life-giving harvest. But if you plant the nightshade of worry, fear, anxiety, just going with the flow, it will return a poisonous weed. The soil just multiplies what it gets.
Now, planting those weeds often comes from what psychologists call an external locus of control. It's this incredibly dangerous belief that your life is shaped entirely by outside forces, the government, the economy, or just bad luck.
Actually, this mental habit is exactly why youth unemployment remains tragically high despite all that massive potential we talked about. We have to deliberately reject this and cultivate a growth-oriented mindset instead. We have to recognize that we are the ones holding the seeds.
Section 3. Actionable Steps. The 21-Day Challenge. Knowing all this theory isn't enough, we actually have to apply it. It is time for the practical test to rewire your mindset and plant your goal. Let's break down this challenge.
All right, here are your clear sequential actions. First up, write down one single, clearly defined goal, just one. Second, visualize it morning, noon, and night like it is already yours. Third, and honestly, this is the hardest part, you have to instantly replace every fearful thought with the picture of your goal. The second fear creeps in, boom, swap it out. And fourth, give extra effort and service every single day. Because remember, your eventual wealth and success will always be in direct proportion to the service you render to others.
Now, getting fired up is great, but what about the flicker? The data shows that 70% of young men abandon their ventures because of burnout or pressure. 70%. To sustain the flame, you've got to use your three-legged stool as a daily rhythm. Check your personal fuel by reflecting on your goals daily. Check your relational fuel by asking a mentor to hold you accountable. And check your transcendent fuel by physically tracking how your work is actually helping other people.
Section 4. Creating the purpose ripple. Once your flame is burning steadily, you reach the ultimate goal of this entire framework, which is passing that flame on to the next generation.
And this brings us right to Ubuntu in action. I am because we are. Think of it like throwing a stone into the mighty Zambezi River. That ripple travels outward, touching shores you are never personally going to see. When one purposeful man mentors a boy or shares his business knowledge freely, he creates literal waves of change. Purpose is never meant to be hoarded, right? It's meant to be multiplied.
Think about what this represents for you today. A man stepping forward into a wide-open field of opportunity. In this golden age of African opportunity we've been talking about, the competition is actually surprisingly low. No, really. Why? Because the vast majority of men are still just reacting to life. They're still waiting. For the purposeful few who decide exactly who they want to become and then act on it, the field is wide open.
So, Bantu Shuk's A Man's Worth is way more than just a book. It's a key. It offers the exact tools you need to turn grim statistics into incredibly powerful stories of redemption. We've explored how to move from reaction to action, how to build your three-legged stool, and how to plant the right seeds in your mind. Now it's about putting these tools into deliberate action.
I want to leave you with this one simple but absolutely crucial question. Who are you going to become? The golden age is already here, and it certainly isn't waiting around for permission. It demands an internal answer, and it demands immediate action from you. The only real competition is the man you were yesterday. So decide, act, and succeed.